Hello and welcome back. My name is Amanda Kelly and this is Bacon Bits, a series of trainings designed with your busy schedule in mind. Bacon Bits provides technology integration support and tips for your classroom. Each bit should take you no more than 30 minutes to complete with a short instructional video, a try it, and then a quiz at the end to track your CEUs. This week we're taking a break from the regularly scheduled topics to discuss something that seems a little more relevant to things occurring this week. Today we're going to look at how to add students to our Google Classroom and create asynchronous assignments. Asynchronous assignments mean that an assignment that a student completes virtually but not live. These assignments will be great to help support students while they're at home on quarantine. The first thing I want to show you is how to add students to your Google Classrooms. So currently your Google Classrooms have been created, but you may not have students added yet. So if you haven't added your students, here's how you can do that. Inside your Google Classroom, you're going to click the People tab, and then under the People tab, you're going to see two headers. The first one is Teachers, and the other one is Students. You can add in both sections. So if you have a co-teacher or a TA that you want to add, you can also add them using the same steps, but only with the Teacher column. To add students, you're going to find the student header and then click the little icon that has the person with the plus sign. From here, it's going to have you type in their email addresses and then you can add them. Now, if you have more than a few students, this can get a little cumbersome. So I'm going to show you a faster way to add your student email addresses. The first step is to get your students' email addresses in an Excel file. If you don't have them in an Excel file form already, I'm going to show you how you can generate them. Now, as long as you have the names typed somewhere, you'll be able to copy and paste. So for example, I have a list of my student names here in this Word document, and you probably have them typed out somewhere in some document for roster purposes. I'm going to highlight all of my names, and I'm going to copy and paste. Now I'm going to open up an Excel document, click the first cell, and I'm going to paste. You're going to see that my name's transferred here in each cell, one name per cell, which is what I want. Now, to generate my email addresses, I'm going to need to get rid of the space between the names, add the grade, and the domain. So Excel has a great feature called Smart Fill. So I'm going to type the first name of the first person in my first cell. Now, I'm going to click that cell and press down Control E. This is going to auto-populate the first name in this column. So you can see Sarah Smith now just says Sarah, Ashley Walters, Ashley, and so forth. I'm going to do the same thing for the last name. Click the cell beside the first name and type the last name. Make sure it matches exactly what you have. Click the cell and then press Control E to smart fill the rest of the way down. So now I have my first name and my last name of all my students in the columns. The next column, I'm going to want to put the grade, because all of our student email addresses are first name, last name, and their grade. So for our example, we'll pretend like these students are in the 4th grade. I'm going to type it one time, and then in the corner of the cell, you see that green little square. You can double click on that, and it'll autofill the same number all the way down. Now for our last step. In the last column, I'm going to type in the school domain, the last part of the email address. And again, I'm going to find that green square in the corner. I'm going to double click on that square and it's going to autofill all the way down. So now I have all of the parts for my email addresses. I'm going to expand this column a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to click the next cell, and now I'm going to put all of the pieces together. To put all of the cells together, I'm going to use the equal sign. Then I'm going to click the first name. Then I'm going to type and, click the last name, then I'm going to type and, then click the grade, then I'm going to type and. Now here I'm going to need my @ symbol for the email address. So I'm going to put in quotations the @ symbol, then I'm going to click and again, or type and again, and then I'm going to click the last part of the domain. So you can see my formula, it says equal, first name cell, and last name cell, and grade cell, and including the @ symbol, and the email domain. I'm going to hit enter, And there is my student email address all put together. Now, we're going to use the same smart fill to do it all the way down. So I'm going to click that corner, double click it, and you can see it'll auto-populate the formula all the way down so that all your email addresses are populated. Now I have my email addresses in an Excel form. I'm ready to add these to my Google Classroom. To add to Google Classroom, highlight the email addresses in Excel, copy, then go to Google Classroom. Again, click the plus icon to add students, and you're going to paste the email addresses there. It's going to populate to add recipients. If you click there, it's going to recognize all the individual email addresses, and now you've added your students. Click Invite to add them to Google Classroom. Here's a great way to check to make sure that you've done the email addresses correctly. If it is a student that does have an email address in our domain, you're going to see their name appear versus the email address. Now, all the ones that I just added are not actually real emails. So you can see that they've stayed as emails, but when it is a real email, their name will appear here instead of the email address, even if it still says invited. To add teachers, you can do the same step, but you're going to do it here in the teacher column instead. All right, now that you've got your students added to Google Classroom, now it's time to talk about some things that you can put in Google Classroom to help them get work done at home. The first resource to help with asynchronous assignments is called Liveworksheets.com. Now, this is a free resource, but you will need to create an account. Once you create an account and log in, you're going to have two different options to choose from. The first, you can use the search bar at the top to search for worksheets that have already been created. The second option is you can generate your own. Let's take a look at some of the free ones first. So let's say that I'm looking for some worksheets about time. I can type in time in the search bar, and then all the different ones that other educators have created are available here for me to choose from. Now, there are some that are drag and drop, some that you can click and type in. It really is up to what you're looking for, and they're at all different levels. So you can browse through things that are already created and see if there's something that works for you. Let's look for another topic just for an example. Let's look for one about nouns. So you can see here other options for nouns. There are lots of varieties. You can also search within the topics. If you click Interactive Worksheets from the top menu, on the left-hand side you can dig through the different topics and look more in depth that way as well. Now let's say you'd rather provide a worksheet that you already have that you want them to do instead of something that's being generated by another educator, and that's perfectly fine. You can use this same website to make your own worksheets. To make an interactive worksheet, instead of using the search bar to look for one, right underneath it you're going to click Make Worksheet. Here you want to use Get Started. It's going to bring you to a page where you have to upload your worksheet to this website. Now note that the format of the worksheet must be a PDF, JPG, or PNG. So a PDF or an image. You're going to choose your file. Once you've selected your file, click Upload. And now your image is here, or your PDF is here for you to edit to make it interactive. Now, the easiest way to make these interactive are to use the text box feature. So this just makes it a fill-in-the-blank worksheet. So to add the text box, your cursor will have the cross-eye, and it kind of shows you where you're starting your box. Or drag and draw the box to create your answer spot. And you want to do this for anywhere that you want them to fill in an answer. Now that you've filled in all of the boxes, you need to go back and type in each box your answer key so that it automatically grades the worksheet for you. Now, if you don't want it to grade it for you, you can leave them blank, but you'll have to grade it yourself. To add your answer key, just click directly in the box and add your answer. Once you've typed in your answers and you're satisfied with your worksheet, you can preview by clicking the paper with the magnifying glass, or you can click the paper with the checkbox if you're ready to go. You have the option to share your worksheet with other teachers if you want to make it public, or you can keep it private. Note that with a free account, you can only keep up to 30 private worksheets. So once you get up to 30, you're going to have to start removing some to add additional worksheets. I'm going to keep this private because it is one of our school resources, and so I want to make sure that I'm following our copyright. Next, you want to add a title for your worksheets. It generates a link to your worksheet. Now you can copy this link directly into Google Classroom, or you can click Open Worksheet, and you have the option to add to Google Classroom from the worksheet itself. If you click Add to Google Classroom, it'll take you to Google Classroom and automatically have you select which class you want to share it to, and then walk you through the assignment process. So you can see here now I have an assignment where I'll fill in the title and instructions, my due date and topic, and then I can assign it to the students. Let's open up my student account so you can see what it looks like on the student end. So here in the classwork, there's the daily tune-up. The student will click on the link and it'll redirect them to Liveworksheets where they'll complete the worksheet. They just click and type in their answers. And when they're done, at the bottom, it'll have a finish button that they'll click. When they click finish, it'll ask them to email the answers to their teacher. Here they'll enter their name, their group level, subject, and then the teacher's email address. Then they'll click send. Let's go back to the teacher side. On the teacher side, you will get an email notification from Liveworksheets showing that someone has completed a worksheet. Now these are slightly delayed, so if they complete it, say at 1 o'clock, you may not get it until later that evening, but you will get an email. If you don't want to wait for the email, you can check in Liveworksheets to see what has been completed. To see the work that's been completed, you click your username, and then go to My Mailbox. In your mailbox, you'll see anything that has been completed, and you're going to see that it's already pre-graded for you. Now in Liveworksheets, there are a variety of kind of worksheets that you can generate. Fill in the blank is just going to be your easiest one. If you're wanting to do something a little more complex, there are tutorials here on Liveworksheets that talk about how to make drag and drop, multiple choice, connect the dots, things like that. But for this video, I'm just going to show you the simplest version. The other resource that I want to revisit is called Nearpod. Now in a previous episode, I showed you how you could use Nearpod for live instruction, but you can also use it for asynchronous instruction too. I have a whole episode about Nearpod and Pear Deck that will go in more detail about how to create a Nearpod or Pear Deck presentation, but I mostly want to revisit to show you that you can upload PowerPoints or slides that you've already created to Nearpod, add the interactivity, and then assign your students to complete it asynchronously as well. To create a new lesson, once you're logged into Nearpod, you're going to click that blue Create button and then click Lesson. Next, you're going to add content and activities. And from this menu, you can see where you can add your slideshow. So if you already have a PowerPoint presentation of a lesson that you're going to be assigning to a student who's going to miss it, you can upload that lesson and then add in other interactive activities under the Activities tab in between the slides that they then submit back to you. Going back to my Nearpod library, I'm going to show you how you can assign it asynchronously. You can see I have 2 lessons here already created. When I hover over the lesson, there's the option to do live participation in Zoom, live participation, but then at the bottom you see a student paced option. This is the option that you want to assign in Google Classroom if you want them to complete it without Zoom or without that live instruction or asynchronously. Once you click, it's going to generate this code that you can put in Google Classroom. You can turn on to require them to respond and not skip activities. And then you can also view the progress after it's already started to see who's completed it after you're done. On the bottom, you see the option to put it in Google Classroom. Again, if you click on this, it's going to bring up a pop-up where you select your class and your assignment. It opens up a blank assignment just like it did with Liveworksheets. Here I can add my title, instructions, due date, and topic, and then assign it to my students in Google Classroom. All right, now it's time for your Try It. For your Try It today, we want to focus on just getting our students added to Google Classroom so that you can use these other tools to help create asynchronous assignments for those who are not able to be with us. Let's go back to Google Classroom and click on the People tab. Under the People tab, you're going to see the Students section. To add your students, you're going to click on the Invite Students icon with the plus sign. From here, you're going to paste in your student email addresses. Let's talk about how to generate email addresses for your students if you don't have this already in a Word document or Excel. If you have your student names already in a Word document, copy and paste these into an Excel file. Now let's generate the email addresses. We're going to use Excel's Smart Fill feature. I'm going to type just the first name and then press Control E, and it auto-populates it down the column. I'm going to type the last name, click away, click back, Control E, and it auto-populates the last name. Next, I'm going to add the grade level, click away, click back. See that little green box? Double click and it auto-populates all the way down. Now let's add our school domain. Click away, click back, double click on that same little green square to autofill all the way down. Now let's put it all together into our email addresses. We're going to use a formula. To start your formula, type the equal sign. Then click your first name, type the and symbol, click the last name, type the and symbol, click the grade, type the and symbol. Now we're going to add our text that we need to include our @ sign. So we're going to do quotation, @ close the quotation, type and then click the domain cell. So again, your formula is going to be first name cell and last name cell and grade cell and quotation, @ symbol, close quotation, and domain cell. Press enter and you'll see that your email address populates. Now we're going to autofill it all the way down. Same green square, double click, and it auto-populates. Now that you have your emails in Excel, you're going to right-click copy, go back to Google Classroom, right-click, paste. Click Add Recipients, and you can see all of your email addresses are here, and then click Invite. Once you've invited, scroll down to see if there's any emails that pop up that have stayed the email instead of changing to the student name. If there are some that are still the email address, it either means that their email has not been generated yet, or you have used a nickname instead of a legal first name. So go back and regenerate their email using their legal first name and legal last name. If their email has not been created yet, reach out to your local IT person and they can help generate that for you. All right, I hope you found this week's bit helpful. Make sure you take the quiz to get credit for your CEUs, and I'll see you next week.